Na 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 na. Hey, gotta love that podcast show. Na 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 na. Hey, yeah, I love that podcast show. Oh, BS and beer is the place to go to get all the Saints news. Hell yeah, podcast show. Na 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 na. Hey, gotta love that podcast show. Na 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 na. Hey, yeah, I love your podcast show.
There it is. Welcome in another week. The BS and Beer podcast crew recording live here in the virtual studios at the SEC Sports Pub. With me to my right, Heath and Tomas. To my left, Tomas Mauricio. I'm Dave Romero, and for the next hour, we'll be talking more Saints and useless information than anyone needs to know. So from Ruston and Monroe, Farmerville to Jonesboro, grab a drink, sit back, relax, because we're going to do the SEC Pub and 97.7 Sports Talk Radio, BS and Beer style. Gentlemen, have you had a chance, as soon as the show starts, huh?
Yeah.
As soon as it, what, you have your wife over there making sure you get some attention?
That's right, man. That's the way it goes.
Did you guys get a chance to get over to that royal wedding?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I was planning on going, but I told you last week with the whole airplane thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't going to
make
fly.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they were kind of upset.
They
I didn't
were.
I didn't RSVP.
Yeah, I told Harry, I said he really wanted to be here, but they catch you next time. Catch you when you come stateside.
Catch you outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Catch you outside.
Buy
I
your
like
po'
that.
boy.
Tomas, you're the political guy. What about we have two Louisiana politicians. We're going to have a good season, a feisty season, when our politicians are fighting in the bar over legislation.
Well, that's just another day in Louisiana politics.
Is
You
that
know, I mean, hey, you pass give me a couple of shots and suck some heads, pinch some tails, and before you know it, they also have some crawfish, and before you know it, we're all in trouble.
Well, if it's any reflection on the things going on in Louisiana, you expect the Saints to have a good season when the politicians are that fired up. So
Yes, sir. Yes,
anyway, I think that's interesting. We're going to talk a little bit. You mentioned we're going to talk about the linebackers.
Linebackers, yeah.
Some new guys, some guys come, some guys going. We're also going to do. We talked about doing one player a week from the draft.
Right.
We're going to kind of combine two of our lower draft picks into one. And talk about them, Jamerson and Moore. Both of them are kind of cornerbacks, and Jamerson's a little bit more of a safety type. But I think after we go over and review a little bit, we'll kind of realize why the Saints are looking to have him more as a slot guy. So it's going to be interesting. Who's going to have to worry about playing time? These guys are going to be able to contribute to the team. If they make the squad, somebody else is not going to get snaps or maybe potentially not even make the team. So It's going to be something that we need to talk about. Junior Gillette back in the news, the old Saint. And anytime I get an opportunity to talk a little bit about Junior Gillette and his antics, I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a guy that has caused this much in professional football, caused this much. I guess maybe I should put it more as someone who is such a nobody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Creates such a stink, and I say that, and I think really it's probably more just Saints fans who are.
Well, maybe he's working on the Hollywood theory. No publicity is bad publicity. Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, that definitely could be it. We have another rookie in the fold. All of our draft picks signed. One guy didn't sign. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit. And more, man. We have all kinds of stuff. I don't know, man. I'm not feeling the enthusiasm. When we were doing the preview for the show, Tomas had nothing but enthusiasm, and now he's just looking like he's a little just not feeling it today, Tomas.
Well, it's just one of those days.
One of those days, huh?
But I might get something going. You never know.
Could it have anything to do with that speeding ticket?
Not speeding, brother.
Oh, rolling through a red light ticket?
Not the red light.
What is it? Stop sign?
That's a stop sign.
I'm not. This isn't court. I know you're trying to go to court and everything, but this isn't. You have to get all technical on me.
All I can say to you is that, officer, I almost came to a stop. That should count for something.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a ticket in God knows how long. That should count for something. And I'm a Saints fan. That should count for something.
Yeah. Did you have any Saints apparel on at the time?
Yes, I did. As a matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
I had a Saints T-shirt on
Well,
because I just come back from the gym.
I think that I
He
don't know.
probably could have been an Atlanta Falcons fan.
Nah, that could have been it. Now, you think that are you going to go to court and fight it? Maybe we could start a GoFundMe page for
Yeah.
him
That's
to
what
help
I
pay
need.
his,
Yeah.
to
I
pay his
need a
ticket.
GoFundMe page to pay for these costs.
I know.
Absolutely right.
Was it Bitcoin? Get some Bitcoin.
Well, I
Yeah.
can go with that too.
Yeah, yeah.
Bit-
Bitcoin's all
Bitcoin.
good.
Yeah.
All right. So somebody out there that's a big Tomas fan, go ahead and open them up a GoFundMe
A
page.
GoFundMe page for my almost stopped at a stop sign ticket.
And listen,
Damn.
if you do it, then you won't get cranky Tomas.
No,
You'll get fun,
no.
energetic Tomas.
Yes.
There you go.
Happy go lucky.
All right, let's get this show started.
Sex in the Cell Block, the hot news show that's too racy for daytime. That's Sex in the Cell Block at 11 tonight. Then it's Saints Talk with Dave, Tomas, Heath, and the BS and Beer podcast crew.
Yes, sir.
Every night here on the BS&B Radio Broadcast Corporation Incorporated, a limited liability corporation.
Incorporated.
Incorporated. All right. Hey, I always forget. Let me give a shout out to my man,
2018
Tyler. Oh, Tyler,
NFL
you trying to act like you were sleeping that
New
time
Orleans Saints
in the
select
production room? I see how it
Marcus
is. I see
Davenport.
how it is.
He's producer.
Yeah,
Mr. Cool.
absolutely. Hey, he keeps it rolling, man, and all the technical stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on during the show, during the radio show, and during now
Don't
the
tell
VCast.
people what's happening behind the black curtain.
Yeah, they don't
That's
care.
what I've been told.
They don't care. They don't
Don't let
care.
'em know.
They don't want to know. But we got to give Tyler a little bit of
Kudos.
FaceTime.
Sure.
He's the millennial. He replaces Heath as the millennial in the group.
Yep.
So the young guy.
I've gotten to that point where I'm getting pushed out.
You
I've hit that age.
yeah, you like remember you used to be like, oh, these old guys, and then now you realize you look around, there's like, well, there's like 3 older guys than me, and then
Yeah.
you look around, and most of the time when you look around playing basketball, it's because nobody picked you anymore, and you sit in the bench and they all playing.
Yeah.
You look around, there's no old guys because you're the old guy sitting there
That's right.
waiting for the next game. You know.
Yeah.
So, all right, so
Those are-
Tomas. I guess we get some news here. I just realized, and this is kind of strange to me because I didn't know that Josh Laribas wasn't under contract. I thought he
No, he
signed a 2-year contract. So the Saints re-signed him.
Yep.
That was something, quite frankly, I wasn't even aware of until I saw the news. And I was the whole offseason, you heard me. Well, we still have Josh
I didn't
Laribas.
realize that either.
So there you go. We got a guy. He's another guy that's a center guard that, and with the loss of Calamente.
But he may not make it.
No, and he,
He might
may
be
not
a camp body.
with the guys that we have. And that's the thing is I think that we've done a good job replacing Calamente, although albeit not with one guy. It's going to take an effort,
Well,
a
I
group
think
effort.
we're going to have people that don't have the experience that Clemente had. I think that's what you're really talking about because he had to play so much, especially this last season, right, where he had to rotate in when people were injured, banged up, whatever. So he had a lot of experience. And yeah, he's a good quality person. Now, the people we have now, younger, less experienced, so it's going to take a little while for them. And I think that's why they said, let's bring Laribas back because he does have experience. So just, follow up on your part, he's been there and done that before. So
Yeah, and then now you also have at right tackle or left tackle actually, and he's played guard too before. We brought back a guy from our Super Bowl years, Bushrod.
yeah.
So Bushrod can play a little guard. He can play tackle. And listen, we always talk about because in a pinch, Clemente played some tackle, and we were like, man, and you have low expectations.
Yeah.
But if we ever went into a game thinking that we should expect Clemente to be a really good tackle, I don't think anybody ever expect that. And I
No.
think that's why we're always like, yeah, he did good, because our expectations were low. With Bushrod, you can have a guy that can play tackle and play guard and
Yeah, I
play it
disagree.
at a
I
I
disagree.
don't know.
at
I
a decent
disagree.
level.
Yeah,
Okay,
disagree.
well, we can
Bushrod
talk-
basically hasn't played tackle since he left
Yeah.
New Orleans.
New
He
Orleans.
went to
You know,
Chicago.
he's
and
been a
Chicago right
guard.
away said,
So-
you know what, you're a guard.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we need to dig into that a little bit. So we coming up on our break here.
All right.
But when we come back,
All right.
let's talk about that a little bit because, quite frankly, I don't know if maybe Clemente being replaced by Bushrod. I thought that I don't know if a step up, but I thought it maybe at least a equal step in the right direction. Hey, it's the BS and Beer podcast crew. Dave Romero, Heath Elson-San, Tomas Mauricio, 97.7. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
A hot news show that's too racy for daytime. That's Sex in the Cell Block at 11 tonight. Then it's Saints Talk with Dave, Tomas, Heath, and the BS and Beer podcast crew.
Yes, sir.
Every night here on the BS&B Radio Broadcast Corporation Incorporated, a limited liability corporation.
Incorporated.
Incorporated. All right. Hey, I always forget. Let me give a shout out to my man,
2018
Tyler. Oh, Tyler,
NFL
you trying to act like you were sleeping that
New
time
Orleans Saints
in the
select
production room? I see how it
Marcus
is. I see how
Davenport.
it is.
He's producer.
Yeah,
Mr. Cool.
absolutely. Hey, he keeps it rolling, man, and all the technical stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on during the show, during the radio show, and during now
Don't
the
tell
VCast.
people what's happening behind the black curtain.
Yeah, they don't
That's
care.
what I've been told.
They don't care. They
Don't
don't
let
care.
'em know.
They don't want to know. But we got to give Tyler a little bit of
Kudos.
FaceTime.
Sure.
He's the millennial. He replaces Heath as the millennial in the group.
Yep.
So the young guy.
I've gotten to that point where I'm getting pushed out.
You
I've hit that age.
yeah, you like remember you used to be like, oh, these old guys, and then now you realize you look around, it's like, well, there's like 3 older guys than me, and then
Yeah.
you look around, and most of the time when you look around playing basketball, it's because nobody picked you anymore, and you sit in the bench and they all playing.
Yeah.
You look around, there's no old guys because you're the old guy sitting there
That's right.
waiting for the next game. You know.
Yeah.
So, all right, so
Those are-
Tomas, I guess we get some news here. I just realized, and this is kind of strange to me because I didn't know that Josh Lurebus wasn't under contract. I thought he
No, he
signed a 2-year contract. So the Saints re-signed him.
Yep.
That was something, quite frankly, I wasn't even aware of until I saw the news. And I was the whole offseason, you heard me. Well, we still have Josh
I didn't
Lurebus.
realize that either.
So there you go. We got a guy. He's another guy that's a center guard that, and with the loss of Calamente.
But he may not make it.
No, and he
He might
may
be
not.
a camp body.
With the guys that we have. And that's the thing is I think that we've done a good job replacing Calamente, albeit not with one guy. It's going to take an effort,
Well,
a
I
group
think
effort.
we're going to have people that don't have the experience that Clemente had. I think that's what you're really talking about, because he had to play so much, especially this last season, right, where he had to rotate in when people were injured, banged up, whatever. So he had a lot of experience. And he's a good quality person. Now the people we have now, younger, less experience, so it's going to take a little while for them. And I think that's why they said, let's bring Lurebus back, because he does have experience. So just follow up on your part. He's been there and done that before. So
Yeah, and then now you also have at right tackle, or left tackle actually, and he's played guard too before. We brought back a guy from our Super Bowl years, Bushrod.
yeah.
So Bushrod can play a little guard. He can play tackle. And listen, we always talk about, because in a pinch, Clemente played some tackle, and we were like, man, and you have low expectations.
Yeah.
But if we ever went into a game thinking that we should expect Clemente to be a really good tackle, I don't think anybody ever expect that. And I
No.
think that's why we're always like, yeah, he did good, because our expectations were low. With Bushrod, you can have a guy that can play tackle and play guard and
Yeah, I
play
disagree.
at a
I
I
disagree.
don't know.
at a
I
decent
disagree.
level.
Yeah,
Okay,
disagree.
well, we can
Bushrod
talk-
basically hasn't played tackle since he left
Yeah.
New Orleans.
New
He
Orleans.
went to
You know,
Chicago.
he's
and
been a
Chicago right
guard.
away said,
So-
you know what, you're a guard.
Well, I think we need to dig into that a little bit. So we coming up on our break here.
All right.
But when we come back,
All right.
let's talk about that a little bit, because quite frankly, I don't know if maybe Clemente being replaced by Bushrod. I thought that I don't know if a step up, but I thought it maybe at least a equal step in the right direction. Hey, it's the BS and Beer podcast crew. Dave Romero, Heath Elson, Tomas Mauricio, 97.7. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Sugar-free, gluten-free, fat-free, talent-free, and free-free. The BS and Beer Podcast.
Welcome back. It's the BS and Beer podcast crew. Dave Romero, Heath Elson, Tomas Mauricio, Tyler Kistner in the control room. We are talking Saints football wall to wall for the next, I don't know, now it's about 50 minutes or so. We want to talk about a couple of draft picks.
That's not including the extra show that we normally do.
The bonus show
That's correct. You know, that you pay your $19.95.
in Bitcoin.
That's right. And if you're interested, you can always call us up on a hotline. What's that hotline number?
701-901-1295. So I didn't look at the screen this time.
Yeah.
That's the hotline number. Matter of fact, we have a hotline call.
Oh, yeah.
We have an
can do it.
email. The email.
what's the email address?
The email address is, what is it? bsnbeer@icloud.com. I'm telling
There
you,
you
this
go.
crutch is a problem. We thought about putting a monitor in here with all this information.
Yeah,
now I just like,
looking
oh,
at
wait,
it.
I got to wait for it to come back around. So anyway, give us a call on the hotline. For those of you not familiar with it, it's the graffiti hotline. it's not a live call. You call, you leave a message. So, man, we always ask people after the game when you're excited about the big win or frustrated after something that didn't go your way.
Yeah.
Give us a call. Let us know. And we'll put it on the show. You
Yeah.
get to be part of the show.
And don't forget to say you're going to hang up and listen.
Oh, yeah. That's a must. I'm going to hang up and listen. Yes, you are.
Oh, what's the other key phrase? We have another key phrase.
I love this podcast.
I love this podcast.
That's right. I don't know what it started with I think our buddy Cornell, who sends us emails quite a bit, always says it. That and burning things down. Cornell, I'm worried about you, buddy, because you do what I want or I'm going to burn it down is what he says. So anyway, but we appreciate the emails from you. So Natrell Jamerson, one of the guys that we're going to talk about today. The other one, I struggle. It's Cameron Moore. But, man, looking at it, he spells it Kamrin. And when I look at it, I just see Kareem. And I'm like, it takes me a second. I'm not that bright. So whatever the case may be, we're gonna talk about these guys. First of all, Jamerson, he's a guy. He's about 205 pounds, 5'10". He's a safety. Now the Saints have talked about moving him to an inside slot defender type. Listen, he's a very good athlete. He runs a 4.40. When I say this, a lot of times you throw 4.4, 4.49, or no, he's what would it be 1/10 of a second or 1/100th of a second away from being 4.39. The guy, you can watch him in the combine, the videos, you can see that his hips are loose. He has quick feet. It's not just a straight line kind of speed guy. He is a very good athlete.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing him. And the problem is we're going to have to, and after we kind of introduce these guys, we're going to start trying to figure out where they're going to fit in.
Yeah. The defensive backfield is a real log jam.
Yep.
We got a lot of guys. There's going to be some pretty good guys that are probably not going to get a spot, and it's going to be interesting to see how the playing time is going to be divvied out between the rest of them.
It's the first time in a long time, Tomas, where we've had a group of guys where we don't expect. Remember, it was not that many years ago we were talking about like 3 undrafted free agent defensive linemen made the team because we lack salary cap space, we lack talent, we lack draft picks.
We
now
had
all of a
like
sudden,
5 guys, didn't we? It was like 5 that we were actually considering at the very end. We kept 3, but I think there were like 5, and they signed one of those guys back to the developmental squad.
and the very next year, and bear with me as I can't remember this guy's name, but he was a starter at right defensive end,
Yeah, and he's
didn't even make the team the next year. And so like in our history, we have guys like Lance Moore and Pierre Thomas and people who have made the team and surprised us as undrafted free agents. And we start falling into this thing when we keep a free agent. It was like, well, we must have found another diamond in the rough.
Right.
But it wasn't the case. Now we're at the just complete opposite. Our roster is solid, and our backups are solid. Now it's going to be hard for these guys to make it. And now, Tomas, you're going to tell us a little bit about Cameron Moore.
Well, what I can tell you about Cameron Moore, when we drafted him, and we talked a little bit about this, he has some things that happened to him while he was at Boston College. And I'm seeing here what I had for him. He had a fracture of his tibia in 2015 and then a shoulder injury in 2017. The shoulder injury was really bad because that was his senior year, and he had to sit out for the entire year. But here's the thing, and we talked a little bit about this the last show, I think, maybe the show before that the Saints have gotten now a new way of evaluating the players that they're interested in. They don't just go by the Wonderlic. They don't just go by this. They actually have a test that they've put together. And one of the things you'll see on their evaluation sheet is, was this person a captain of his team? How many total games did this person play in his 4 years or however long they were at school? Do the other people on the team appreciate him and look towards him as a leader, even if he wasn't captain? So what they're looking really for now is they're looking for players, obviously, who have athletic ability, but more than anything else, that they're solid players on and off of the field. As we were talking about Mr. Belt. And I understand that there's a belt company that's interested in hiring him.
Yeah. You can be a sponsor.
Yeah. So a spokesman for the belt company.
That's ridiculous.
But in any case, in this particular case, now, Cameron Moore, I think is an interesting fellow because he has played outside and inside cornerback. He has played safety. He has actually rotated in all of the positions of the defensive backfield while he was at Boston College. So he's not a guy that you can say, well, he's only going to be in one place. And I think that's another thing that caught the attention of the Saints. I actually think the Saints were interested in him around earlier.
Right. Well, I think from what I gathered, they didn't expect Jamerson to be there, and so they picked him, and it was a choice. They were choosing between Moore and Jamerson. They ended up picking Jamerson. Another round later, Moore was still
there.
available.
Right.
So they kind of double dipped.
Right. And I think they got both of the guys that they wanted, even though they, like you said, they pushed one away to the other side. But at the end of the day, we're going to have a real battle in the defensive backfield because there are some other players who are players as well, defensive players as well as special team players. So these two guys that we're talking about, Moore and Jamerson, they're going to have to step it up in special teams as well. Can they outplay Hardy? Can they outplay Banjo? Can they outplay Peanut Butter and Jelly, 4-year veteran with four games of experience? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, believe me. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they beat out some of these veterans simply because they can play special team. And then, most importantly, that we have to remember, it's about the Benjamins.
Right.
What kind of contracts do these young guys have? How does it affect our salary cap? So that, because remember, next year, we've got a couple of big guys we have to sign next year. So we're going to need some money next year.
Well, next year is when we're going to start seeing, because one of the things all these guys that we've drafted and we've done so well, we're going to have to start re-signing these guys, and they're going to command big contracts.
Yes. Yep.
So we're going to have to find ways to keep that salary cap under control, or else we're not going to be able to keep anybody. But you kind of stepped into the next part of the conversation I want to have is, who are the guys who are going to have to watch out? And you mentioned Devontae Harris.
He's gone.
You mentioned
he's a camp body.
I don't know if you mentioned, but Arthur Millette was a guy, and I think he played gummer.
He might stick around. He might.
Another guy that I know it might seem a little unusual, Daniel Lasco, the running back.
I think he sticks.
When Lasco was on the field, he was a gunner.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the competition. Obviously, it's not going to be cornerback versus cornerback.
Right, but I think in this particular case, it's because of the Ingram situation.
Well,
I think
and that's going to give
sticks because of the Ingram
that
situation.
will definitely give him the advantage.
Yeah.
So when they at the end of the year, at the end of the training camp, when they start trying to make these evaluations and who they're going to keep, that's going to play into
and
it.
And Lasco is a hard player, even if he's not a gunner. Still, he's a tough player. He's a good tackler. So that's the kind of player you want on your special teams.
He's athletic and he has speed and like I look at Jamerson and his athleticism, and when I look at a guy like Daniel Lasco, that's what got him drafted. He had a lot of injuries in college, but man, he was his athletic ability, his measurements at the combine were off the charts. So the thing is, if he can get through training camp, and now
if he can stay on the field, that's his biggest
right.
problem.
If he can stay on the field, I think he has a spot. And if the Saints think that that he can stay healthy because of Ingram being missing, that he'll have an advantage because if he can get out of training camp healthy, I think that Lasco's going to have a chance to play.
So. Especially Ingram out 4 and then being traded. So by that point, we're going to need another running back. Oh, you didn't even blink an eyebrow when I said that.
I wasn't listening to you.
I
missed what I missed. I was already going over to the next idea that went through my head. So
I said he's going to make the team because Ingram will be out for 4 games that he's suspended, and then once he's traded.
Oh, yeah. That's
and
not
see,
happening.
he didn't blink an eye.
Listen.
I speak, no one listens.
Should I?
The story of my life.
I don't want to switch gears here and go into a completely different direction, but listen, for those of you who think that it's impossible that Ingram gets,
Oh, no, it's not impossible. I'm saying it jokingly to a certain extent, but to a certain extent, I'm also saying, you know what? You make your bed, you got to lay in it. This was his year to really perform, to get that next big contract, and he's already stepped into it. And,
I saw $8 million a year being thrown around, and man, I don't know. Listen, I know I liked him. I know for a while you didn't, and he earned that. And
he earned
same
my
thing I always say.
respect
He earned it from you, and now you're like, hey, and I feel the same way. But then when you start throwing $8 million around, I start thinking to myself, man, and he's going to be what, 29 next year, and I know he has low wear and tear on his body.
That's true,
but I don't know if I want to see the Saints spend that kind of money, especially with all the guys coming up.
Yeah.
So it's going to be important, and the key to it is to see if some of these young guys can step up in his absence, and if the Saints can find somebody who can be as productive. Think about how much of the resources they've spent on the offensive line.
Yeah.
If they could put somebody else in that role, in Ingram's role, and they are doing well.
Could be that local boy, Boston Scott. I'm just saying.
I like him. I just don't know if. Listen, I don't want Kamara taking a pounding because Ingram is our workhorse. You know, he's a versatile back. How did this conversation switch into running back?
Because
But-
you weren't paying attention
That's
to what
right.
I
Yeah,
was
that's
saying.
right.
That's
I can
why.
see it.
See, from now on, pay attention to what I'm saying.
All right, so
All right, let's get back to the
I'm sorry. What were you saying? All right, so defensive backs here. I think that it's important that Jamerson come out. These guys got to stay healthy. More, I can't see both of them making the team. Like you always say, hey, you know, the practice squad is making the team. Maybe one of them sticks there, but I see Jamerson. He might even be able to push peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if P.J. Williams doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Because remember, they brought in P-Rob. P-Rob is going to be the guy doing the slot.
Right.
You got Crawley on one side. You got Lattimore. That's three right there. Now you tell me where he's going to play. We play three safeties. Okay, now where's he going to play?
I have to believe, though, that we're going to see less three safeties. I mean, you don't bring in a guy like Vaccaro was on the field and people talked about three safeties because Vaccaro was really playing that slot. So he was kind of a versatile jack of,
But only because
like
we didn't have anybody to play slot. Because when PJ would play a slot, he'd get beat.
and I agree with that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that I think that the Saints will probably tend to go a little bit heavier in at corner because they now have, like you said, Robinson is going to be the slot guy.
Yes.
So we don't have the depth at safety we've had in the past. I don't see them
Well, I
playing
mean,
I
three
think we
safeties
do.
as
You
much.
do.
I
You,
think
you
we
got
do.
Bell, you got
Yeah, Bell won't even be playing.
Williams, and you got the guy they signed from Carolina,
Coleman.
Coleman. And so, I'd like to see less three safety sets because I'd like to think now we have enough other guys.
No, that's
That
what
can
I'm,
either
that's
play,
what I'm trying to
right,
say.
play the slot and or at linebacker. We have better options at linebacker and all where Vaccaro was kind of playing this hybrid role. Now, however, Jamerson they could see as a similar type of player.
Yep.
Right.
And so if they're looking to put him in that position, who knows? But I also think that PJ's best place that he could possibly be is on the outside anyway. So it could be a boon for him as far as being a backup on the outside.
Right.
Because he obviously doesn't belong in the middle.
Well, I don't think he played very well in the slot, and you can see when Vaccaro went down, and we talk about it, and I'm at fault too. I give Vaccaro a hard time, but Vaccaro played pretty well at a slot. It's just some of the matchups he wasn't successful, but a lot of times, man, you didn't hear from him a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Well, when Dennis Allen played him in the correct position, then you didn't have that problem.
Right.
Again, the first two games that we played, like we've all said, they put Vaccaro in open space.
Yeah, now
Dude, he
that's
can't
a
play open
complete
space.
failure.
Right.
That's
Okay,
complete
and
failure.
so that made him look like he was washed up. Then once they changed that around, okay, then all of a sudden
just playing to his strengths.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. So to me, I'm going to say this. I wouldn't be surprised at all if both of these kids make it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hardy steps up, a guy that we brought in that people haven't, he's great on special teams, but he's also good. They just haven't really seen him because there wasn't a necessity to see him.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised. I see PJ as being a casualty. I see him as not making his team.
Well, I will say this, when we made jokes about P.J. Williams not having a lot of playing time, we might actually see maybe a little jump in, and maybe I'm just defending him because I'd like to see that third rounder.
Maybe in preseason so they can ship him out.
Well, I don't see, man, why? Listen, I don't know why you'd want to ship out a guy who's showing some improvement. I mean, I think that the Saints obviously want to keep him around. If they want to cut him, he could have been cut quite a while ago because
But why
of all
cut
the
him when you can get a draft choice?
what you going to get for P.J. Williams?
Maybe a fifth. That's okay.
Yeah, but if they
Fine,
want
better than nothing.
to look at it from another angle. If they want to keep him around, why draft a couple more cornerbacks?
Yeah, okay, you know what?
Exactly.
That's some writing on the wall that's hard to argue with.
Yeah.
Hey, listen,
Yes,
it's the BS and Beer podcast crew. Dave Romero, Heath Elson-Son, Tomas Mauricio, 97.7 Sports Talk Radio. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk about some linebackers.
Yes, sir.
We'll be right back.
Look, the thing.
BS and Beer Podcast. Standing up for people.
Thank you. I know I am.
There's going to be a revolution for the people. There's going to be riots in the street. BS and beers. BS and beer. You ready to rise up? BS and beer podcast. Come on, I'm joining them. Witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational podcast.
Welcome back. It's the BS and Beer Podcast crew. Heath and Tomas Mauricio, Dave Romero, 97.7 Sports Talk Radio. Now, we've gone over some rookie defensive backs. We've talked about a little bit of the news. Now, right now, the off-season training, the OTAs, the off-season training is underway.
Yep.
So I think they go Tuesday through Thursday. Media has access 1 day a week. And something strange, I was listening to Nick Underhill, and I guess the Saints told the media not to divulge what day they're allowed to go. I don't know. Some of these things that Sean Payton, and I assume it comes from Sean Payton, some of the stuff they come up with just seems a little strange,
Yeah.
But we'll find out. There'll be one day when media's allowed in there, and we'll get some reports and some feedback, and we'll know what's going on. But right now, Tomas, we were going to talk a little bit about the linebackers. Just recently, Mike Monty, who's had a lot of issues. It's not necessarily football-related injuries. Health issues and stuff. It looks like it's the end of road for him.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know how. Maybe when I look at this depth chart, I don't see where there's an opportunity.
Well, I'm
going
going to pray to
Don Bobo.
Don Bobo.
Don Bobo.
Now, we don't have any injuries. But remember last year when we had one injury after another, we brought him back in October, and we'd cut it. So, now, from what I understand, he's in much better shape than he was last year at this time. So it could well be that somebody else picks him up and brings him into a camp or something. I don't know. But these are the kinds of cuts. Big Hill gone, who signed just today with
Is it Winnipeg?
Winnipeg, I think.
Somebody in the CFL.
Yeah, the Blue Bombers, right?
The
Yeah,
Blue
Winnipeg,
Bombers.
yeah.
So best of luck to him. And we cut Marty. Now, as Dave has said many times before, when you start knocking your last year's first string and making them second string, or they just don't even make the team, then you're improving.
No, you got better.
And so if we're going to talk about linebackers, man, you talk about there's going to be a fight for the last position.
Absolutely. And special teams are going to have a lot to do with it. Now, think, it's not just the linebackers, but special teams, the depth. I mean, it's just going to be hard to crack the lineup now. So Let's take a quick look. The guys of note. Now, Tomas, he likes to go deep into the lineup.
I got 'em all right here.
And find the guys who potentially could make the team or provide some kind of, whether special teams or some backups. But we got Nate Stupar, who was injured most of the year last year.
Gone.
Craig Robinson, who started off as a backup but spent a lot of time on the field. Demario Davis, our big signing last year from the Jets, this offseason.
Yes.
A.J. Klein, he was the big signing last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he got injured later in the season, and really what's funny is that he on paper didn't seem to play that well this offseason. There's a lot of talk about him not living up to expectations, but I swear as soon as he left the field, the linebacker play dropped. At least that's my perception. So moving on, and I think injury follows just about every player that I talk about. The word injury followed. But Alex Anzalone, he was a guy who was a third-round draft pick, world of talent, first-round draft pick talent. But Heath,
What?
a little injury prone.
Yeah,
You don't
well,
say it often.
Yeah, I don't like to throw this word around, but he's injury prone.
There you go.
But hey, now correct me if I'm wrong.
He may be. We'll see.
Did I hear that all the shoulder injuries he's had in the past, that he actually this is the first time he had surgery instead of just doing the old
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe that's something.
Yeah.
Maybe they got him like a cadaver of a big mountain man.
Yeah, maybe so.
or
Maybe
just
they put 2 or 3
big
ligaments in
bungee
there.
cord in there
Yeah.
and just strapped it
Yeah.
down. Didn't tell him.
Put some cables, something.
And
Anything.
the last of the players who actually played and made an impact in this, Manti Te'o. He was a guy that I had zero expectations for coming into last year.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, if it wasn't for him, I don't know where our linebacking core would have been, and thus our defense would have been, because he
Yeah, he played a lot, and he did a good job, particularly in run support.
No, absolutely. And that's always been the thing about him is that he's not particularly good, and he's not a great athlete, so you don't see him doing a lot in the passing game. But there were, so
He
his
was one
overall
of the highest
grades.
ranked linebackers at the end of the season. He was one of the highest ranked linebackers playing both pass and run.
He just played he had some huge plays
Yes, he
in
did.
consecutive games down the stretch.
Yes.
Atlanta, Carolina, and I'm not talking about the playoffs. I'm talking about the
the
last
regular
3 or
season.
4 games
Yeah.
where we needed a big play. You know, it was 4th and 1 or something, and man, he's made some huge plays.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like the Saints have a lot of confidence in him or really see him as being a guy that's
disagree.
a future guy.
I disagree.
Okay, well, let's hear your thoughts.
disagree.
I don't think they want him as a starter necessarily. I think
No.
they always
Well,
want
I mean that's what I'm talking about. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking about as a starter.
Well, look,
no.
you're going to have 6 linebackers. That's the number I'm throwing out there. I think we're going to have 6 linebackers who are going to make this team. So if you go down the list, I believe in my list, I have Anzalone going to make the team. He's going to be a starter. Demario Davis going to make the team. He's going to be a starter. A.J. Klein going to make the team. He's going to be a starter. Craig Robertson going to make the team, maybe backup. Manny Te'o going to make the team, maybe backup. Well, he's going to make the team. Craig Robertson, I'm not quite sure of. You know, he's 30 years old.
Less confident in him.
Yes, age is starting to catch up with him, although you can't say anything bad about how he played, and thank God he could play all the positions.
Yeah.
But again, you're looking at a guy who's 6-year veteran, 30 years age. Okay, and like I said to you, it's about money and contracts many times. So if I have it correct here, then the ones we're looking at who are fighting for one position are Jaron Elliott, 4-year veteran, 26 years old, 6'3", 255. Keyshawn Freeman, who they signed after the last little minicamp thing, 6'2", 250, 22 years old, rookie. Colton Jumper from Tennessee, who had some big games in Tennessee, 6'2", 229, 23, no experience. And Nate Stupar, 30 years old, 6 years of experience. To me, Nate Stupar's not making his team. Robinson, maybe, if he doesn't get outplayed by Jumper or Freeman. So you could be looking at a much younger linebacking core. Now, here's the thing that caught my attention. I don't know what you all think. When looking through this list, none of these guys play special teams. All of these guys are
Okay,
linebackers.
I wouldn't say that they're just not what you would call special team aces because Nate Stupar, which you don't think
He
he's
was
gonna make it.
injured. Remember, he was gone all of last year.
Craig
He
Robinson
didn't
played
play.
special teams.
Not once he started. Once he started
Well,
the
and
game,
that's part
they
of the
yanked him
problem,
out.
Tomas, is that
Yeah,
when you start getting all the snaps, man, they don't want you getting hurt on punt returns.
And this is why I say to you, he started so many of the games last year, but he's 30 years old now, okay? So if he's going to make the team, he's not going to be a starter. He's going to be a backup, which means he then does have to play special team. Well, these young rookies would have no problem playing special team. Freeman and Jumper. You see what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, and I mean that's a good conversation, and I'm sure that's a conversation they'll have during training camp.
Absolutely.
Is okay. Are you going to give up a guy like Craig Robinson who can play all the positions?
Yes.
And while not great, he's a solid player.
Well, I did think that he's going to make. I said that
and
he probably
we're
will.
right.
Okay.
But when they're
Stupar, I
looking
don't
at
think
these
so.
other guys, and they might be more athletic, they run faster, they're younger, they these things that you like athletically. The problem is, if they have to go into the game, if what happened
Yes, I
last year
understand.
happens again,
I understand.
that's the question that the coaches are going to be looking at each other saying, "Are you ready?"
Yeah,
That
I think at the end of the day, you still have to look at it as what is their value in their actual position,
Yes.
and special teams is extra, or an extra way to help themselves. It's something else you have to do
To
if you're
stick
not
on the
one of the
roster.
starters. But I don't think you go into it. You certainly don't go into it looking at oh well, this guy's better on special teams, so we're going to keep.
you might
you know.
have a handful of guys. Let's just say, and I'm not talking about punter, kicker, deep snapper. I'm talking about 3 more guys on the team. You say, man, this guy, he's not a very good cornerback or receiver, but he is our gunner and he's excellent at it. But if he's not exceptional at that,
Right.
then he doesn't
That's
have
a
a
good
shot.
way.
They're going to go
Right.
to whatever guy actually can play a position of need.
Well,
Right.
would you agree with me that there's only going to be 6 linebackers?
That's
of the-
that's generally what you would see.
And
is
would
6.
you agree with me if you count Robertson, you've got 5 picked out already?
Yeah.
So you only have 1 position left for Elliott, Freeman, Jumper, Stupar.
Stupar just has experience. I'm not a big Stupar fan. I even when we signed him from Atlanta, I was
No, but if you're looking at him as a backup guy and a special teams guy, that's a different thing.
yeah.
We never wanted Stupar to be a starter from the
Right.
time
Or
he was brought in.
Robertson.
We didn't really want Robertson to be a
Right.
starter either, right? And so, but they both have in spots and have done, they're at least serviceable players.
Right. No, absolutely.
Stupar, when he was out on the field, when he had to play a lot of snaps, I didn't just see him as being horrible. I mean,
No,
it wasn't
he
like
played
he
the
was.
position. Yeah.
Yeah.
Robinson is a solid player. He just lacks athleticism, and it shows up. It shows up a lot. But
when he played-
having said that, he's a good backup because again, you got to keep in mind the reason he's a backup is because he doesn't have that athleticism.
right.
But he's in the right place. He knows what he's doing. He's solid. He's a good, strong tackler. You just want to make sure. You just hope that he doesn't have to start 8 games. You just want him to maybe.
Well, and we said this on a number of occasions that if Anzalone would have been out there, he would have caught him before he turned the corner. And Robinson couldn't catch him before turning that corner.
Right.
So I'm just saying to you, if we keep 5, because of experience, then you have only one position left. And if you keep Stupar for that position, then are you shooting yourself in the foot by not developing players that you need?
That again,
I don't know.
That's the question that the coaches are going to be asking during the training camp,
All right.
and
Well,
they're
that's
going
why I'm
to, they're going to be
bringing it
looking
up.
around the room, and you're going to see if any of the coaches are going to raise their hand and say, "I'm ready to stick behind this guy."
We're just postulating now because we're still a long way off.
Right.
Let's
Hey,
see what happens.
it's the BS and Beer podcast crew. Dave Romero, Heath Elson, Tomas Mauricio, Sports Talk 97.7. Down the home stretch. Y'all don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hi. One, two, hit it, boys. Welcome back. It's the BS and Beer podcast crew, 97.7 Sports Talk Radio. We've already covered some of the rookie defensive backs, where they're going to fit on the team.
Yeah.
We talked linebacker. We had the last of our draft picks, Traquan Smith, wide receiver, third-round
Last
pick.
one to sign.
Last one to
Third-round
sign.
pick, yeah.
So, listen, he's a good player. I expect a lot from him this season. Our wide receivers, I would say our skill guys in general, tight ends as well, if you lump them in there, not particularly strong. So I think there's plenty of opportunity for him, and I think his skill set fits with what you looking at, Tomas?
Our
You eat something
wide
sour?
receivers are not particularly strong.
Okay. Tell me what you think of our wide receiver if Michael Thomas gets hurt. Michael Thomas goes down with a knee injury. Tell me what you think about our wide receiver
Well, what do you
group.
think about the Saints if Drew Brees gets hurt?
Well, the Drew Brees not a wide receiver now.
Well,
is
it don't
he?
make any difference. You're picking one skilled
so
guy.
now there's no difference between a wide receiver and a quarterback.
When you're talking about one guy going out, I'm talking about they're all healthy. I'm not talking about one guy goes out. I'm talking about if they're all healthy, we have a very strong wide receiving core.
Okay, good conversation. No, we don't. Ted Ginn, good deep receiver, but I would not
He ain't
count
no
on
good.
him.
Gotta go.
No,
All right,
I didn't
go
say he
ahead.
wasn't no
Who's your
good.
next guy?
Okay, so you
Go ahead, next guy.
don't get all hyperbolic on me. All I said was
Hyperbolic. Do you know what a hyperbolic curve is?
well,
you use the term, so go ahead.
okay, so if,
Don't get me started, brother.
okay. Something he gets upset.
Yeah.
You talk bad about the Saints and Tomas.
Don't
gets
talk bad about my Saints.
Okay.
Talk bad about the Falcons.
Okay, all right, hold on. First of all, before we get too far into this, I think Tomas's point is that you really only have one Michael Thomas level guy at any position group on most teams.
Thank you, Heath.
Okay.
Okay, so in that respect, it would be similar to if somebody like Drew Brees went down or the best offensive lineman goes down or whatever
I get
it
that.
is, okay?
I get that.
All right.
But after Michael Thomas, our wide receivers are not strong. I'm not saying that they don't have
They all
certain
suck.
skills. See how it is?
No, but
You
we
can't
have
even have
strength,
a
yeah.
conversation, man.
Go ahead.
No, I agree
Okay.
with you generally speaking. but-
So you have Ted Ginn Jr., good deep threat. I wouldn't. He's not an all-purpose wide receiver. If Thomas goes down, your starters at this point, one a day on one side, and Ted Ginn Jr. on the other side. You're not going to win a lot of ball games like that. So I do not believe that the wide receivers are
I
strong.
would disagree with you that those
Oh
are going to
my
be the
God.
two starters. I'm serious.
Who's the starters if
Meredith, who we just signed.
Okay.
Didn't we sign Meredith?
Yes, I mean, he's coming off an injury. I'm not saying he wouldn't be
so
good.
That's
So-
another guy. He's
okay.
off of injury, so yeah, he's no good either. Okay,
I didn't say he's no good, man.
Well, I think Lance Moore is still available. I mean,
right,
and Toon.
I mean,
Toon is still out
seriously,
there.
can't have a conversation without you getting all bent out of shape. Look, I like Meredith. I think he's good. At the end of the day,
Yeah, he ain't no
I'm
good.
still not ready to
No.
say that we're great if we don't have Michael Thomas on the field.
You're right.
Hey, man, we good enough that we ain't going to have Tommy Lee out there receiving. No more.
Well, you never know. We're one injury away
One
from
injury
having
away from
Tommy
Tommy
Lee as
Lee.
our starter. So, all right. So let's switch the subject because obviously Tomas, he's just going to walk out. I'm serious. He gets. Look at him here. Let's
Should have never let Snead go.
Look at that face. Look at that face. Shouldn't have let Snead go, man. We need him. All right. So let's talk a little bit. Oh,
No, but let me say this before we move on
Okay,
real quick. When you look at the two combined, I would agree with you because tight end is bringing virtually nothing to the table at this point.
I didn't say that. That part I agree
Okay,
with.
so
I agree
when
with
you
that
look
part.
at the two as then yeah, that one definitely waters down whatever the receivers were to begin with.
and listen, okay, to back off the debate a little bit, I agree. I like Meredith a lot. But I want to see him do something before I'm going to say that our wide receiver is strong. But it was, if we would not have gotten Meredith, I mean, woefully undermanned at wide receiver.
So
After
I'm just
Thomas.
saying to you,
But Thomas is amazing. Let me put that before. Tomas
he's-
puts all
he's-
kind of words
no,
in my
he is.
mouth.
I was just going to say to you, just as Heath said, because he was correct in what he said. Every team has one star player or maybe a handful of star players that if they go, the entire team changes.
Right. I don't
Aaron
disagree
Rodgers
with
is
that at all.
out.
I
That
don't disagree
team
with that at all.
Julio
But-
Jones, you want to talk
well,
about
don't use the
wide
don't use the quarterback
Okay, so
as
it's like
example. But
Julio Jones
right.
at Atlanta.
But
When
Julio
he goes
Jones-
south, then Atlanta changed the way their personality changed.
well, some teams
Okay.
are stronger in certain. They do have Sanu. They do have some. So overall, I would say they're stronger at. Tampa Bay is stronger at receiver. Now, whether they got anybody who can throw the ball consistently enough to them is another. But what the Saints do have is we have stronger. Well, at least after the first 4 games, we have a stronger duo of running backs than a lot of other teams have. However, we don't have. I mean, unless Ben Watson really. I mean, I like Ben Watson. Don't get me wrong. We don't have a lot contributing from the tight end position. And that's where somebody like Michael Thomas actually getting hurt. I think that's where that part of it is what's going to drag it down even more than what else we have at wide receiver because that's another group of receivers, even though we don't call them the wide
Right,
receiver.
right.
That's not contributing very much.
Right.
And so.
All right. Cornell writes, if our first round draft pick don't get 15 sacks, he's going to Airline Highway and he's going to burn it down.
Burn it down.
Burn it down. I love this podcast.
Yeah.
Cornell.
Well, look, I don't know, like Davenport, but I think they should keep some extra security out there in airline.
All right, so we got a hotline call. 701-901-1295. Be part of the show. Let's see what this hotline call is all about.
Topics and everything. So here's my stab at it. I'm going to say that Yelder is greater than Josh Hill. Josh Hill is a bust. After we matched the deal from the Bears, we matched it based on the fact that we thought he had potential to be a good tight end. So far, he's been mediocre at best, and in my opinion, we wasted money by matching that contract. So now Yelder comes in, he's going to save the day. He's going to fill the tight end need that we had him along, with our veteran tight end that we signed.
All right, so that's a little dice on the hotline, 701-901-1295. He says that Yelder, the undrafted free agent from Western Kentucky,
yeah.
better than Josh Hill. Josh Hill's a bust. Listen, I'm
Well,
not going to go. I'm not going to climb out on a limb and start defending Josh Hill. I gotta choose my words wisely. You could say that, man, he stepped up in the playoffs last year, different player, but all in all,
Okay, so I was shocked when the Saints actually matched the offer for Hill.
Sure.
Okay, I don't know that I wouldn't call. I don't want to use the word bust. Okay, but he definitely. The problem with him is consistency, right? He shows
Right.
flashes. He showed flashes before that. I think that's the reason why they. And then he got hurt, and but man, you see that ability he had. He looks like a good pass catcher and all this kind of stuff. And he hasn't consistently been that. Now Yelder, I mean, we don't know nearly enough yet about this guy. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible.
Right.
But I think it's a little too early to
I think
anoint.
the fans are getting a little overexcited about Yelder. Okay, so apparently when doing a little research, he doesn't have he wasn't like a 4-year starter. He was a basketball guy. So I mean, there's always that when you think, oh, it's untapped potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible. Now, he also had different offensive coordinators and head coaches at Western Kentucky. His senior year, he really came out because the new coach that they got there wanted a 2 tight end system, and so he really stood out in that kind of a system. And I think that's why, had he had that same kind of system maybe for 2 or 3 years, he might have been drafted instead of being a UDFA. Now, again, everybody's excited at this time of year. You know, we think
Right.
that the guy who, I was going to say something I probably shouldn't say. The guy who has, only one toe and, is blind in one eye is going to be the next starting guy on our team, okay?
Yeah.
The truth is that we don't know at this point. Let's go through the OTAs. Let's go through the mini camps and see what happens.
Hey, that's all the show we have for you. I want to thank Tyler Kistner, our production guy, putting a good show together. For Heath Elson, Tomas Mauricio, I'm Dave Romero. You've been listening to the BS and Beer podcast on 97.7 Sports Talk Radio. Talk to you later.
Later.
I meant next week.